Perfect.
Hi everyone.
Hi.
I was just wanted to facilitate a bit and do a bit of introduction, but I couldn't join. I don't know exactly why. To say welcome to this translation sprint session. It's going to be moderated by Evelyn or Scan. Maybe it's more popular, and his name and Ariadna Matas. And maybe you can say a few words from your side, your background, and everything, and then we can start, I guess. And I can just, yeah. Would you like to say a few words, Ariadna, maybe?
Sure, yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Ariana, and I work for Europeana Foundation as a policy advisor. So I've been working with SCAN on many issues related to Open GLAM. And SCAN is also a member of our corporate community, which I coordinate. And so hence why we've wanted to do this translation sprint together.
Yes. Yeah, what Ariana just said. I mean, I'm not Ariana, of course, as you can see. But I'm Evelyn, or people also knows me as Scan, and we were sort of like thinking through like we're in 2020, and this idea came up about like needing some more translations for some of the core materials that Europeana has. And then we were sort of looking at other things that we think are interesting. And I think that our community values multilingualism and diversity a lot. So it seemed like an interesting call to action during hands-on things, right? And especially like to show that there are also other things that you can do that are not necessarily like code computing, like code programming too, that you can do like very hands-on things. So that's kind of the thing why we're also organizing this sprint. So thanks to everyone that is like joining the session.
That's actually great, and we have 19 people, maybe more people will join in a bit. So I will say bye for now for my video, and I will be there here actually because I also have to translate some words. So thank you, and I think we can start, I guess. So bye from here.
Well, thank you, Angeliki. Have fun. Go ahead and get started. We already started like telling a little bit to people why we're doing this. So basically, we were like with Ariana, like looking at some like things that we needed to sort of get done during the year, and so this idea of the translation sprint came up. And as like I was just saying, we sort of value a lot the ability to talk with people in their own language and also understand the arguments in their own language. And I think that it's important that we sort of pay honor to like kind of the people that has been encouraging some of these things over and over. So of course, like myself, and I guess that Ariana too, as like a second language speaker, like with English not being our first language, of course we value a lot like diversity of languages and being able to like understand things in our own language. But I also remember that when CC was sort of exploring and doing research on how to implement its strategy, CC commissioned Anna Mascal, who is a researcher from Poland, to explore the network and how it was working. And one of the things that came up over and over in the interviews was the importance of language again, right? And like of being spoken to in your first language, and that sort of diversity being taken into account by the organization. And I remember that Anna synthesized that idea in a very nice way by saying language is the first commons. And so I think that's kind of an important concept to bear in mind, that language is our first commons. So whenever we want to talk about sharing, we should actually be able to reach out to people in their first language. And so that's kind of one of the ideas underlying this activity. And I don't know, Ariana, if there's like anything else you want to share. Maybe
no, nothing in particular. I don't know if you want to go through the content that we've selected, then I can say a couple of things about some of them.
Yeah, so maybe I can start sharing my screen and I can start sharing like the main page of the translation screen that we are going to be having. So that's where all the information can be found. And now I'm gonna go and see where's there. There we go. And there I'm gonna be sharing my. You should be able to see my the translation sprint page, right? Ariana?
Yes, we see it. And I was just going to, like for those that are not used to using Hopin, that if you double click on the shared screen by scan, you can see it bigger. But for now, we're seeing the call, like your call scan.
Oh, my call, interesting.
Sure.
Give me a moment. That's what about now? No, still my call.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know I can share a tab from Chrome, and that's what I'm like pressing, but it's like it's not like going to the tab that I said I want to share. I'll just put my
maybe you can
screen
then change the tab. Yeah. Yeah, then how it works.
Yeah, okay. So I have to press my whole screen. Sorry about that. Okay. So you can see the page now? Okay. So this is going to be our main page for coordinating the translation sprint. And these are the core documents that we're going to be translating. And Ariana, you want to explain a little bit better what these documents are?
Yeah, so as Ken was saying before, we try to select a couple of documents that we think are kind of that will still be a reference over time, so that the translation efforts are not useless in 1 year, let's say. So we've selected a couple of things from Europeana. There's 2 core documents that are really important for us around the public domain, and then we also selected a couple of blog posts that have been really useful into setting the scene for Open GLAM. So Scan, maybe I can talk about the 2 Europeana documents and you can talk about the other ones?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, the 2 Europeana documents are, one of them is the Europeana Public Domain Charter, which was created around 10 years ago with colleagues from Communia at the time. Paul Keller had a big influence on that, and I think Julia Fallon, or maybe not Julia Fallon at the time, maybe Jill, the former director. And this document is a policy document that establishes Europeana's approach to the public domain. And it basically says that around cultural heritage, whenever cultural heritage is digitized, once digitized, if the original work, the physical one, is in the public domain, the digitized version should also remain in the public domain. So it's a principle that we hear a lot and that we've been advocating for 10 years. And for those of you based in Europe, you probably heard of the Copyright Directive that was adopted last year and that is now being implemented across member states, which actually has that very same principle in one of its articles, Article 14. So having this public domain charter available in other languages, particularly in European languages, can be very useful in advocacy efforts at the national level to encourage policymakers to follow this best practice that the sector has been working on for many years when they transpose this Article 14. The public domain usage guidelines is another very important document. It's almost one of our terms and conditions in the website that establishes how we would expect users of works in the public domain that they find in Europeana to use this content. And so the fact that there is no longer copyright protection does not mean that we encourage any type of use, or we of course encourage any type of use, but we want people to be mindful of the author, the context of the work, the institution that made the effort of digitizing it. And so we want people to be culturally aware of all these factors when using the work. So there's a couple of notes on how a user can make that happen when reusing the work. Back to you, Sken.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop sharing right now because I figured out what was the problem. Interestingly enough, like the session, it's also called Translation Sprint, so I was confused about that. So that's why I was sharing the not proper. And now you should be able to be seeing actually the yes, great. So that was the thing. So
Okay.
like this could be called a language issue by itself, right? So also I so I also wanted to note that CC wrote the public domain usage guidelines back in the day, and so actually I think that Europeanas are kind of a remix of that. And then the public domain charter is also like super important, not only for European states, but also like I think around the world. But I don't know how established this concept that reproductions of public domain works should remain in the public domain is elsewhere. So yeah, like it says Europeana, but I think that there's like some universality being applied to it. And so the three other remaining sort of things are and I'm not calling them posts because the so we have the Open GLAM survey, the reproductions of public domain works should remain in the public domain, and then blog posts on sharing indigenous cultural heritage online, an overview of GLAM policies. So the Open GLAM survey, probably some of you are aware of what it is. I wonder if actually Doug is in the audience. Is he? I think that he was here. If he wants to, hey, Doug, do you want to jump in and maybe like share what the Open GLAM survey is for those that are not aware? Yeah, great. We're doing a lot of improv in this session, if you haven't noticed, but we wanted this to be more like a conversation with all translation nerds.
Can Doug join the panel, maybe? Okay, cool, great.
Yeah,
Hi,
there
can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes, we can hear you, Doug.
Hopefully that is better. And okay. Hi, so yeah, I'll be really brief. The Open GLAM survey is something that Dr. Andrea Wallace and I have been working on since the middle of 2018. It seeks to kind of map examples, instances of open access in the GLAM space all over the world, and we'll be presenting on it actually later this week on Thursday, if anyone would like to join that session. And the Medium articles which are linked here and have been very kindly offered for translation are really three pieces that I wrote quite early on in the survey about just explaining the background, the scope, and providing some kind of hopefully useful insights into how the survey works and what it tells us about the Open GLAM space then and now. So yeah, it'd be absolutely terrific if we could get those translated in some new languages. So yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Doug. Yeah, and the Open GLAM survey is already translated in Spanish, and there are some other articles that are already translated into Italian. And maybe, Ariana, maybe you want to also share what are the languages in which the public domain charter is already translated to.
Let me check. So the public domain charter is already available in English, French, German, Greek, Italian, Polish, Romanian, and Spanish. That's everything.
Great.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Oops. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, that was it. Thank you.
Yeah, and then sorry, and then we have the reproductions of public domain works should remain in the public domain, which is an article that Claudio Ruiz and myself wrote about like the importance of exactly what the title says, of like keeping those digital reproductions as public domain. And then the other one is like an important blog post that Brigitte and Alexis Muscat from Creative Commons, she was an intern, and Brigitte Vecina, which is CC's policy manager, wrote around how GLAM institutions like, or more like how different GLAM institutions are approaching sharing indigenous cultural heritage, and what are important things to consider, even if the works might be in the public domain in the sense of copyright, there are still like some issues to be considered there. So we thought that was kind of important. And as you can see, like all these articles are touching into very different aspects of the public domain and GLAM policies and why is that important. And with the help of Arianna, we did this very like nice translation guide. So I'm gonna stop sharing that screen, and I'm gonna go ahead and show some things around the translation guide. So this is our translation guide, and it's quite intuitive. Like we left it very simple, so people don't really need to like read a lot in order to understand what's the call to action. So what we do ask people is that they take a minute or two in reviewing the spreadsheet, verify that in the spreadsheet no one else has selected the same document as you. And this is just for the purposes of coordination too, because you can also go to the spreadsheet, and I'm going to show the spreadsheet in a second. And if you see that someone has like volunteered for translating the same document that you have, you can also drop them an email. Once you have decided, like once you have verified the spreadsheet, you are asked to complete a form that is like very simple. It's only asking your name, your email address, and which document you want to translate and to which language. And then you should be able to like go ahead, because the spreadsheet is going to be automatically updated once you complete that form. And then we prepare these translation templates, which are basically Google Doc documents where we sort of like put all the paragraphs into a very simple table. So you have on side the document in English, and then on the other side, you should be able to put your translation. And so I'm gonna like share that now, so you can all see those things. I think I'm gonna like just do my whole screen, easier to navigate through tabs. So basically, here is the spread. You can see that there's like different people that has already volunteered, and these are the languages that people have volunteered to translate. This is the form that we're asking you to complete, so the spreadsheet can be automatically updated. And then I'm gonna just show a template. This is the template for interesting. So someone is already messing up with our dear templates. But basically, like this template, you should be able to use it with your language. So as you can see, here is the English version, and here you should be putting the one in your language. And this is not probably a good example because it has already been a little bit messed up. But here you can see that you have the square brackets, and where it says language, you should put your language. But before doing that, you should make a copy, right? So you go to File, make a copy, and then you start directly working on your copy once you have done that. There are like some instructions here. Basically, we are allowing translations to be made using some automated tools like Google Translate or DeepL Translator if you want. But we do ask you to make sure that the translation reads naturally in your language. So double check that it actually makes sense. And once you are done, you can share your copy of the document at these like email addresses, basically scan@creativecommons.org and arianna.matas@europeana.eu. And maybe, Arianna, do you want to share a little bit about what are we intending to do as sort of like prices for this translation sprint?
Yeah. So for those of you that are hesitant, like, am I going to translate or not? Should I find the time or not? Well, at the European Copyright Community, we had a bit of leftover money that we were planning to use for traveling to do some of our meetings this year, which obviously didn't take place. And so we're trying to repurpose this. At first, with Scan, we were thinking of maybe giving a little prize to everyone who completed a translation. But then we thought it would be much more interesting to do it differently. And so for every translation you complete, we are going to donate some money to the Arab Image Foundation, which is based in Beirut and suffered from the explosion a couple of weeks ago. So this will be helped. They're actively collecting money to reconstruct the parts of the building that suffered from the explosion. So we don't know yet the exact quantities. It will very much, we'll have to adjust it, seeing how much translations we get. But yeah, the more you translate, the more we'll be giving, that's for sure. And so I hope this also gives you some motivation for how your translation will be useful.
I don't know if I don't know if anyone has a question or a comment. We have like enough space in the call that we can like put you inside the conversation, or you can write whatever question, comment.
And also, as Ken said before, I think so. You will be seeing the emails of the people that choose a language and a document to be translated. If ever that's your language, I would also encourage you to, like as Ken was saying, to reach out. Maybe you can double check the translation. It's always better to have two people look at it than one. So maybe you can reach out to that person and just ask to see the copy and take a quick look to see if you've got anything to add.
I think we are so efficient in organizing this thing, right, that no one has any question because everything is so clear. We should like clap ourselves, Arianna, right? It's like, oh yeah, well done, like well done. It's like Alison, right? Like she did such a great job that like no one is needing her right now. So that's like a perfect moment for an organizer, right? Like when no one actually is asking you questions because like you made everything so clear that no one has any doubt about what they have to do. Yeah, cool. So where do we find the links to the show in Google Docs? So as we were saying, we have a page on the summit.creativecommons.org main page. We have a sub page, and so there in which is summit.creativecommons.org /translation sprint. And there, if you go there, it says to get started out or translation guide. In that PDF, there's a title called Translation Templates. And so you should be able to retrieve the documents from there. So I'm actually gonna paste the, yeah, thank you, Doug. So what's the goal? The goal is to translate as many these documents to as many languages as possible. So the public domain usage guidelines, the public domain charter, the Open GLAM survey, the reproductions of public domains works, and then the sharing indigenous cultural heritage online to as many languages as we can. It doesn't have to be European, any language around the world.
And
Of course, for
no,
the
no,
public
no,
domain.
go ahead.
Sorry, oops, go ahead. No, I was going to just say that for the public domain usage guidelines and for the public domain charter, we are sort of like expect to have them translated to official languages of the European Union. I mean, at least that's like our max goal. But that's, yeah.
Yeah. I forgot what I was going to say, but I think that, yeah. Yeah, and I think that the main reason for having them in several languages is to be able to reach audiences that wouldn't have access to the maybe English version, and so mainly to raise awareness about the principles that are embedded in these documents. But if you've got particular ideas on then how to use it further, we're also they're also very welcome.
Oh, interesting. So, Bahu, can I ask you a question? I see that you noticed the other links, but the one to the PDF you skipped. Maybe it's because it's kind of like a title, because we could make that clearer in the page. It looks like a title. Yes. Okay. Yeah. We can make that clearer on the page. That's actually a great comment. Okay, we have like 2 minutes left of this lovely session. Yes, so Douglas is saying, if anyone has questions or would like to check in with me about the Open GLAM survey articles, please feel free to get in touch. And I could add your email, Douglas, to the spreadsheet. And I also think that in all the Open GLAM survey articles, like you say, for you actually encourage people to reach out directly to you. But I'm gonna add you in the spreadsheet so people know that they can reach out to you.
And I don't know if we mentioned it, but the translation is open. Like we will sort of close it at the end of the summit, right, Scan? So you've got the whole week to get back to your translations and finish them.
Yeah, probably it's like it feels like a lot, right? It's like you're gonna be attending like all the interesting sessions that are the summit and then translating, but you know, it's like okay. And of course, like we will accept translations after the summit is over, right? It's not that like you have to reach the deadline of the 23, but we are expecting to get as much as we can in like this effort.
Yeah, maybe just give us a heads up if you're planning to translate it later.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, thanks everyone for being here.
Thank you, Scan, and everyone.
Bye. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.